Good morning. It is Wednesday, April 27th, 2022, and welcome to the National Newspaper Publishers Association's Let It Be Known. Gun violence continues to be a major problem in America, and young ones, kids, are finding themselves in the line of fire. A parent's video shows children ducking from cover as gunfire erupted during a youth baseball game in North Charleston. We discussed that and more this morning with NEPA journalist Barrington Stammen and James Wright of the Washington Informer. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And you hear the sound of the gunfire, these little kids playing baseball, James. What's the deal with gun violence? It's out of control.
Yes, and good morning, Stacy. 45,222 people died of gun-related violence in 2020 when these statistics, the last time they were compiled. And what really makes it bad is that 79% of U.S. murders were committed with a firearm. And this ought to really get you, that dealing with children and teens, 60% of the homicides occurred with a gun. This country is awash with guns. There are too many guns. And our policymakers and politicians need to do something about this because our children, our babies are getting hurt because of this.
Yeah, we see that video there in North Charleston. Police say they are actively investigating the shooting. Police spokesman Harv Jacobs said police responded to Pepper Hill Park in the 7600 block of Brandywine Road where gunshots had been reported. A police report released later states that witnesses told responding officers that a large group of teenagers pulled into the parking lot and began fist fighting. Witnesses then told officers the teenagers began shooting at each other before they fled in their vehicles, where it appeared shots were fired from one vehicle toward the other. Barrington, the gun violence, I know you have mentioned that since COVID, things have gotten worse with that.
Well, it's interesting because I see the statistics and I wonder if it's because we know more why it seems like there's more that's going on, because as someone who's always trying to keep tabs on what's going on, this stuff has been going on. And I look at situations here in DC. There's no gun manufacturer in DC. Where are these guns coming from? And I've heard law enforcement folks, political folks saying that there are certain elements of our society in different communities that are making mad money off of these guns, and they have what do you want to call them? They have God. Sorry. It's like they have routes that they use to transport these these guns. I think that if our elected officials were serious, they could get a handle on this. But what James said is 100% right. This is a gun nut country. And, I think the last time I checked, they said they have more guns than people in the US. Mm-hmm. And if I'm always a connect the dots guy. These people, the folks who are the ones that say that they are right up under God's arm are the ones who are afraid and have 5 million guns. And I always keep on saying, if you're so holy and religious or whatever, why do you need all those guns? So I think until this country comes to terms with that. I mean, I thought after Sandy Hook, after they killed that boy killed all those children, the whole gun issue would change. But the NRA owns Congress. Well, owns the Republicans, and they ain't gonna do nothing because. And I say one quick thing: understand that the Republicans made a law that the CDC cannot do research on the effects and impact of gun violence in this country. That's how bad it is.
Yeah, and we're seeing, again, in the case in North Carolina, we're seeing young ones. These were teenagers shooting at each other, and right next to them were these little kids playing baseball. James, the mentality of kids now have changed.
Yeah, Stacy, when you and me and Barrington were kids, when we had conflicts and we got into a fight and we fisted out. And after we fisted out, usually we would have a group hug and then go home and that sort of thing. But that's not what it is now. The thing is to get mad and get angry and then upset and then pull out a gun and just shoot people. And that is wrong. And I have said this on this show in the past. We need more counselors in schools. These budget cuts that have taken place over the decades in these various cities and school districts around the country, cutting out these school counselors, that we're now seeing the effect of that. And these children are watching television. And how do we adults solve our problems? We shoot and bang and kill people. And so it's natural that our babies are going to pick up on that because that is what they see. Look, America, I don't know what it was, it Malcolm X or one of the radical civil rights leaders said that violence is as American as pie. And so
H. Rap Brown.
Yeah, H. Rap Brown. And he's absolutely right. And I'd like to turn that quote and say that guns are as American as pie. But that doesn't mean that we have to shoot our way out of conflicts.
Go ahead, Barrington.
But James, go big picture. The United States has gone around the world and beat the shit out of people, bombed people, done all this stuff to people when you do things that they don't like. This is what, I mean, the genocide against Native Americans, the enslavement of Africa, all of this is connected, bruh. This type of violence is in America's DNA. And if you look at national statistics, I mean, I was looking at some statistics the other day, and it was some stuff like 9 people dead from gunshots in Japan, and maybe 1 or 2 in Norway. All these countries, and 30,000, almost 40,000 people here in the United States every year.
Yeah.
Bruh.
I want to mention it's important what Angela Connolly brought up. She says, wasn't there a congressman caught with a gun at the airport yesterday? And indeed it was in North Carolina. It was Rep. Madison Cawthorn who was cited for having a gun at the airport. Yeah. But you know, but we're the
punks running around acting like they're tough guys, and please.
We're the priorities though, Barrington, James, in this country.
We see, but Stacy, we see the priorities every day. When we spoke earlier, I was saying that if you look at the agenda that Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren and Joaquin Castro and AOC, if you look at their agenda is a human agenda, one where you are looking at increasing access to mental health, making sure that people have jobs, making sure that people have a place to live. All that stuff that Biden has put forward, that piece of, you know what, mansion and cinema, made sure that it died. So we see where the priorities are. It was only $3 to $4 trillion, and they killed that because every time that you're looking at something that's gonna help the American people, who's gonna pay for it? Where's the money going to come from? But they have for the past 4 years passed $762 or $3 billion in defense 2 years ago, and 813 trillion, is it billion? Billion. Right? Mm-hmm. Billion this year, this cycle. We see where the priorities are, Stace.
Yeah, David Youngblood says priority tax cuts. Show me the budget. I know your priorities. Barrington James, yesterday, President Joe Biden announced he's using his clemency powers for the first time, issuing commutation for 75 drug offenders. Biden also issued 3 pardons, including to the first Black Secret Service agent to work on a presidential detail who had long professed his innocence. In a quote, the president said, helping those who serve their time return to their families and become contributing members of their communities is one of the most effective ways to reduce recidivism. Ooh, boy, that's some word, Barrington, and decrease crime. Biden stated, the president added that those receiving clemency had demonstrated their commitment to rehabilitation and are striving every day to give back and contribute to their communities. The clemency included Abraham Bolden, who is 86 years old. He's the former U.S. Secret Service agent and first African-American to serve on a presidential detail. In 1964, he was charged with offenses related to attempting to sell a copy of a Secret Service file. His first trial resulted in a hung jury. Following his conviction in the second trial, even though crucial witnesses against him admitted to lying at the prosecutor's request, the court denied him a new trial. He's always maintained his innocence. And finally, James and Barrington, the president offered clemency to him.
He was pardoned.
Yeah, let me take a point of personal privilege. I'm very aware of Brother Bolden. I call him Brother Bolden because we belong to the same fraternity. He came through my fraternity at Lincoln University in 1953. And President Kennedy actually made sure that in 1961 that he became a part of the Secret Service. And you know what happens to Black pioneers? They catch hell, and that's what it really was with him. But he stuck it out, and he's been really telling people about all the hell that he went through in terms of the Secret Service.
Well, you know, the fact that it took so long and so many presidents later, Barrington, go ahead. I know you, Barrington's chomping at the bit.
No. I wrote a story about this yesterday, and I thought to myself that I'm very thankful that he was alive to see it, because he's 86 years old.
Yeah.
And if you think about from 1961 until 2022, until 1964 until 2022, he's been taken this. It's taken this long for him to get justice. I'm glad he got it. As James said, when you're the pioneers, you do catch hell. And the way that things are nowadays, you don't have to be a pioneer no more. You just have to be in a space that white people think you shouldn't be in, and they give you hell anyway. But I'm like I said, I'm glad he got it. It's a marked contrast from Biden's predecessor, who when he was walking out the door, he was pardoning Paul Manafort, Roger Stone, Lil Wayne, Kodak Black, and Kushner's friend who had been caught up in domestic violence and all that type of stuff. So it was friends and associates and lovers that Trump was dealing with. So I'm kind of glad that they're getting back to this. But gentlemen, it also speaks to the reality of this country, that the whole criminal justice system is rotten.
I was going to say
it's not justice by any measure, and for me, it should have been 75,000 goddamn people, not 75, because America has the largest prison population in the world, 2.3 million people.
Yeah,
larger than India and China, which have billions of people, right? So, I've been...
Well, Barrington, it speaks to also, you mentioned Joe Manchin, one of your favorite senators. And it speaks to the refusal to pass the George Floyd Justice and Police Act. It speaks to refusal to do any thing of substance when it comes to criminal justice reform, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I wouldn't blame Manchin for that, because we Americans, and Black Americans in particular, Black people in this country, we're like Charlie Brown with Lucy and that football, because we keep on thinking that we keep on thinking that these people are going to do the right thing, and they don't. They, if you look at the arc of the George Floyd policing bill, they never were going to support it, and people like Cory Booker and other folks negotiated in good faith. They put that clown Tim Scott to make it seem like, to put a black face on it, when we all knew that Tim is like the marionette that the puppeteers are controlling. He can't say anything without getting permission from his masters. So I don't know why they put him in the first place, because he couldn't negotiate on his own. So it was all a sham, and it wasn't going to happen. And then you have folks like Manchin and Sinema that just add icing on the cake, just to make sure that we letting you all know that it was this close, but you ain't gonna get it.
Barrington is going all in this morning. Listen, guys, an 8th grade teacher at San Francisco's Creative Arts Charter School brought cotton plants in to show her class the sharp edges of the shrubs while teaching about slavery in the U.S., as well as the cotton gin and its impact on enslavement and the Industrial Revolution. The social studies teacher, who is not being named, was not at school for 5 weeks after the controversial lesson, which was investigated within 24 hours of the incident. The report says that the school would not confirm if the teacher's absence was due to a suspension. The school is a charter school, and it does not operate under the San Francisco Unified School District. It's considered a progressive institution. It has only 435 students, more than half of whom are white. One creative arts parent, Rebecca Archer, who is Black and Jewish, was concerned about the lesson for her mixed race children. She expressed fears that the lesson, which put the raw cotton in the children's hands, could evoke some many deeply hurtful things about this country. Of course, the incident comes, Barrington and James, as many states are enacting rules against critical race theory.
What's a big deal about this? I read the story and I was like, I don't understand.
I don't either.
She's teaching them experiential teaching,
right?
Because if you talk to anybody who picked cotton, the first thing they tell you is how sharp these things are and how it cut up their hands and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I don't. It sounds like much ado about nothing. Because how else are you going to teach your children history, reality? I mean, come on.
Well, here's that theory. This whole critical race theory, right? They want to keep certain things out of the schools. Certain individuals, certain groups want to keep certain teachings out of the school. The teacher says that she realizes it was culturally irresponsible, I believe what she said, and had the potential.
I don't agree with that, Stacey. I don't agree with that, because look, you're talking about demonstrative education. You're showing kids how it was back during slavery, like Barrington said, to pick cotton, because that was, you know, the birds and the stick. I mean, that was very, very tough to do. And the best way to demonstrate it is not just read it in some book or some mimeograph, is to actually have a demonstration on how it was. This is how I learned about the Holocaust and then the effects that it had on Jewish people when I was in the 8th grade. We watched that movie, The Holocaust, which actually brought it to fruition, and then also read the diary, and we had a show on this, a diary of Anne Frank. You got to bring these kids and show these kids what history was really about. And if it means bringing in a cotton plant, then so be it. But these people just are so super sensitive about their children and their children. Anyway, my children can't handle.
Do you think it's sensitivity?
Can handle more than you think.
Do you think it's sensitivity, or is just this is another example how they just don't want that real history in the schools?
Stace, here's the deal. I think that if you look at what that idiot in Florida, DeSantis, is doing, if you look at what Greg Abbott's doing, if you look at all these Republicans who are running up and down screaming about critical race theory, the whole idea, I think, is to bully people into not doing what they need, what they should be doing. Because if you, the situation now is like, oh my God, can I go use the bathroom? Am I going to get in trouble if So everything they do is under a microscope. They're trying to figure out, should I do it? Shouldn't I do it? What are the implications going to be? And I think that's a part, because there is a very cynical part of the what used to be the Republican Party, and their whole thing is chaos. I think I look at DeSantis, and if you look at the way that he announces things, the things that he puts out, when he puts them out and stuff, it's all chaos theory, bruh. People get so bombarded with all of these different things that he's doing that you don't have time to react to it, and the real stuff that he's doing you don't see because you're so caught up with the shiny object over here, and over in this corner they're stealing all the money. They're giving their friends and cronies all of these cushy contracts and stuff. So that's the type of stuff that I think this is a non-story.
Yeah,
it really
James,
is. And I'm sorry that she ended up
paying for it, right?
5 weeks. James, you dated yourself. He said mimeographs. Most people have to go look in a dictionary to say what the hell is a mimeograph?
I
know. And Barrington, then he tries to put us in the same class saying when we were kids, right?
When we were kids. No, but the truth is that I'm sure I'm older than James. So we were dealing with the abacus and quills and all that stuff when I was in school.
Well, listen, James, Claudette Perry, the NNPA's executive administrator, says teaching economics as well, picking cotton was supporting the economy and how white folks created part of their wealth.
That's absolutely correct. And, it was the cotton was king in the South. That's why the South, during that time before the Civil War, was one of the wealthiest regions in the world. As a matter of fact, Natchez, Mississippi was considered like the Dubai of back then, because it has so much wealth because of the cotton, and our ancestors who picked the cotton and got paid absolutely nothing, but were valuable on the market and valuable to Wall Street in New York in the North. So this is why we have to look at this. This is why we must study history, and we must study Black history, and we must study accurate history in order to understand where we've been, so we can get a good sense as a country where we're going.
They don't want to teach that history though, right?
So we got to teach it, Stacey. We don't have to wait on them for permission. People, I mean, the best examples that I'm seeing, I think it's the New York Public Library that said last week, any child who wants to read a banned book can come get a book. So we can't sit down on our hands and let these demagogues and these fools control the process. You fight them in court, you fight them legislatively, and you find sensible ways to combat the foolishness that they're doing. That's what we got to do. We can't sit down and wait on them. And as I say every day, we can't sit down and wait for Jesus to save us, because Jesus ain't coming to save us. We got to save ourselves. And it just makes me crazy, because I look at the Democratic Party and their responses to the racism, to the sexism, to the xenophobia, and I'm more and more beginning to believe that they are just the quiet supporters of what the Republicans are doing. They don't fight them the way that they. If you're in a situation where your life is on the line, you're going to fight like Ukrainians are going to fight, because you ain't got nothing to lose. Democrats aren't fighting like that for Black people or for women.
Well, with that in mind,
children, right?
Well, Barrington, James, with that in mind, what Barrington just said, this upcoming midterms is even more critical than ever before, right?
The Democrats are going to get swept because the Democrats are idiots. Listen, I have been doing stories since 2016, 2017, bruh, where I talk to DNC people, I talk to folks in the Democratic Party. The agenda for Democrats is still to try to attract Reagan Democrats back to the party. Mm-hmm. What the hell? They've been gone for 30 years. They ain't coming back. But they don't focus on Latinos. They don't focus on Black people. Mm-hmm. They don't focus on the folks that brought them here. I spoke to a DNC person, and she said that in 2018 or something, 1 to 2% of consultants to the Democratic Party were Black. They spent $514 million. That ain't gonna do nothing. Mm-hmm. They didn't offer the type of financial support and resource support to Black Voters Matter, to the New Georgia Project, to all these primarily women-led organizations, that is the reason why the Democrats have control of the Senate. Because these folks, I talked to these folks, and they said they went into communities where nobody had been.
Yeah.
And they registered and recruited people who were like, I ain't voting. Voting ain't nothing. And they got these people to register. They got them to the polls. That's why Kemp, Governor Kemp, who's a thief and a criminal and should be in prison for what he did when he ran against Stacey Abrams. He stole the election, right?
Yes.
And they understand that if they don't steal election, I mean, Trump said it. Trump said if we allow election, if we allow everybody to vote, Republicans would never be in office again for the next generation.
That's right.
You know that.
The Browning of America.
Yeah. But we have a system, and we're seeing it now. We used to be able to say, well, oh my God, you know, the Klan and the White People's Council doing XYZ, but the Supreme Court or the different courts are going to help us. We ain't got that no more.
Yeah. Well, guys, Vice President Kamala Harris has tested positive for COVID. Harris and First Gentleman Doug Emhoff returned this week from traveling across the country. They attended a fundraiser hosted by Walt Disney Television's Dana Walden and producer Matt Walden, held at the Walden's home. About 30 people attended that event, and her spokesperson said that Vice President Harris has tested for COVID-19 and rapid and PCR tests. She has exhibited no symptoms, will isolate and continue to work from the vice president's residence. She has not been a close contact to the president or first lady due to their respective recent travel schedules. Her and her husband said they will follow guidelines provided by the CDC. So the couple also plan to follow the advice of their doctors. And the spokesperson said the vice president will return to the White House when she tests negative. So it keeps going on. We continue to hear about these positive tests, and yet we're lifting mask mandates. Barrington, James, you want to make a little sense of that in our few remaining moments?
It makes no sense, Stacey. COVID isn't gone. I think COVID is in hiatus, but you know, the Biden and the politicians are reacting to economic factors. They don't want to close anything down because they got to keep on making money. The businesses are like, James, come back to work, because you know, you can't have an empty building that they're paying for. So I think it's going to continue. I don't know why it's such a big deal, because you even if you say you wear the mask you're around people, I mean, I go on the metro to work, and half of the people are wearing masks and the other half aren't. So that's just a recipe for a continuation of what we've been seeing.
Yeah, Stacey, I'm tired of wearing a mask. It makes me uncomfortable. So, and I'm sorry about, and I'm truly sorry about the vice president getting COVID. But I understand why people don't want to wear masks. They're sick of this stuff. So I'm just not going. I don't have it, so I'm just not going to wear it.
But what's the option, James? Because the United States has lost more than 1 million people.
Well, and the point too of even bringing up the fact that the vice president has tested positive, and you think about the vice president, you think about the president, they are not just protected by security as far as from people, but in a sense that you're not allowed to get but so close to these individuals. So when they come down with COVID, it tends to speak a little louder than say if you or I got COVID.
But remember, you know, the Gridiron Club dinner on April 2nd, I think last time I checked, there at least 90 people that they've acknowledged tested positive. And they've never told us how many journalists got it. They're not telling us how much the people, the staff, the wait staff, and the employees at the Gridiron place itself. That was a super spreader event. Right. Yeah. So it's gonna continue. I don't know. You know, I'm not a scientist and all that stuff. I think, you know, I hate masks, but I still wear them because I ain't trying to get COVID. You know. So I got it. I got it last August, and luckily it was mild. But so many people that I know have died.
Yeah.
You know. So.
Well, we go ahead.
No, I said it's tough.
Yeah, it is. We're going to continue to, report when it warrants about this disease, this infection, this pandemic, whatever you want to call it, the mask or the lack of mask.
But Stacey, look at the landscape. We have what used to be a political party that is anti-intellectual and anti-science, and they're the reason why just a little over 50% of Americans have been vaccinated. If they get control, and it looks likely that they will, we're gonna catch hell. Because all of the normal things, the factual things, the scientific things that for hundreds of years have been fact, they have basically trashed it and said it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
So it's beneficial to them to do that.
Well,
and we gonna pay.
Yeah, wear your mask if you want to. I know I'm sick of wearing masks too, but I'm wearing them when I get on, Amtrak or plane or go to the grocery store.
Yeah,
I'm wearing mine. So that's me.
How long are we gonna wear it for though?
That's good. That's good.
Good. Well, I'm gonna wear it until I feel like okay, and I don't know when that's ever gonna be. When is that ever gonna be?
I don't know.
2 or 3 years.
I'm definitely afraid of getting sick with COVID.
Yeah,
I really am.
Have you had it?
Yes, he has.
Okay, all right.
Yes,
yeah.
And
that junk had me in bed, bruh. I was laid out, like severe fatigue and headaches and all type of stuff, and I couldn't move for like 2-3 days. I just laid in bed.
That's something.
Yeah, it's the worst thing, thinking or feeling like if you go to sleep, and this is how I felt.
You
go to sleep, you're not gonna wake up. That's how bad it.
Wow.
It's a horrible feeling, right?
Yeah.
It's like
Stacey, you're not supposed to be afraid to die because you're gonna go to heaven.
I don't know about that. I don't know who knows that.
Jesus, so what's the
problem? Do you know my track record? Talking about heaven.
Yeah, right.
Well, anyway, folks,
I'm glad we all survived it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It is something else. But look, folks, join the NMPA at our national convention in New Orleans. It's freedom, justice, equality, and equity. That's the theme of the 2022 in-person convention. And I guarantee you, because I know Ms. Perry, our executive administrator, it's going to be some social distancing. It's going to be some options to do things the right way, because if she's in charge, I feel a lot more comfortable. But register at NMPA/events or -events.com. The hotel is spectacular. And if you register, you're going to get a really, really great rate if you register now. And the great Stephanie Mills is going to perform for us. How about that? We are really looking forward to that. Go to www.nmpa-events.com. Register today for the NMPA's annual convention. Again, we're celebrating 195 years of the Black Press of America. Who else can say that they've been around 195 years and still going strong? That is us at the Black Press of America. And look, June 3rd, this show, Let It Be Known, is going to celebrate its 350th episode. So keep on the watch, because we're going to bring out some surprises for y'all. But stay tuned. Thank you so much for joining us. Everybody have a safe day, and we will see you tomorrow.